AutoChamp Wandelen here, and right next to me is the BYD Dolphin Surf, and it brings me back memories of the Chevrolet Matiz, also known as the Daewoo Matiz. This kind of design, which was also seen on the Honda Jazz, where you have the narrow track, was never exactly desirable. Then we come down to a very big question. Has BYD actually beaten the game with this Dolphin Surf? Have they actually made these kind of vehicles desirable, where it's actually awesome to have a budget vehicle that looks cool and that is quite well equipped? Check the link in the description for my other YouTube videos where I review other BYD models and potential competitors to this BYD Dolphin Surf. Now let's start with the exterior design. The front has some resemblance to what we see of Lamborghini, and that should not be surprising everyone, because the thing about Chinese car manufacturers is that they tend to draw too much inspiration from other competitors and other car manufacturers. So the exterior, not surprisingly, has a bit of an identity crisis in my opinion. But then it is well equipped because I see you get a 360-degree parking camera. You get 5-spoke alloys that are split over here, and they look nice. They look good from a distance. Now, they give this BYD Dolphin Surf a cross-country theme, especially combined with the plastic protection over here. Now, looking at it from this angle, this is where the memories of the Chevrolet Matiz and the Daewoo Matiz actually come back. Now, looking at the side of this BYD Dolphin Surf, there's a bit of a deja vu in my opinion. It kind of reminds me a bit of the 2000s, and I keep referring to the Chevrolet Matiz and the Daewoo Matiz, but then it's probably because of the way the door is. You see the fact that you get these kind of door handles, and then it's at least you get the keyless entry, which is good. By all means, in terms of technology, we are not stuck in the past. We are definitely ahead, guys. I'm not exactly sure this is going to be something desirable. Let's take a look at the door and you'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah, the door sounds average, and this is the kind of door handle you get. Time to check out the interior. Things should get more interesting because I already see you get electric seating adjustment for the driver's seat, and the seat looks like it's just come directly from a luxury vehicle. I mean, look at it. The last time I saw a seat like this was probably in some Mercedes worth 50,000 euros or more than that. This is how good it is. And I like the door handle. It's got squidgy material. In terms of material, it is coated in the best materials possible for this price and segment. Now, I don't remember the price precisely, but it's less than 25,000 euros. And this is great. So first thing I want to talk about is the steering wheel. The steering wheel is very nice, everyone. It's okay, it's nice to hold on to, but I'm not a fan of the fact that for some BYD models, they decide to go sharp edge and it looks cool. There's something about BYD and sharp edges that look very good together. But whenever I see round edges, this is where I think BYD hiccups a lot. Like, I look at this design and the steering wheel looks very... It reminds me of the problem I had with the BYD Atto 1, I think, or was it the Atto 2? I'm not sure, but there was a BYD model I had the pleasure of reviewing not too long ago, and it had this roundish design all over the interior. It was a bit... No, it was a big no for me. I think the BYD Sea Lion is the best, and so is the BYD Seal. They have the best looking interiors so far. Now, for this BYD Dolphin Surf, there's no compromise in terms of technology. But before we go to technology, I was in the middle of talking about the style, actually. So you get this Alcantara looking trim throughout the interior. It's not Alcantara, guys, but it looks like Alcantara. It's squidgy, whatever it is. So there's something about this interior that will make you feel like you just bought something a bit more expensive. This is great. Now the screen, that's where you have the BYD value in terms of technology. So screen can actually rotate. This is how nice it is. You get a dual zone climate control, guys. So this is very well equipped, and you get a tiny instrument cluster, which is nice and cute. The visibility outside is wonderful. It should be comparable to that of something like a Honda Jazz. I think that's the closest I can think of. Honda Jazz, everyone. Think Honda Jazz. But maybe the Honda Jazz is slightly bigger, if I'm not mistaken. Not sure. And then you get your transmission right here. This has to be the first time I see a transmission like this. Now, if I'm being honest, this concept is not exactly something I'm a fan of because it's a bit confusing. I'm used to seeing a transmission separate from everything, but they kept it right there next to the climate controls and driving mode as if it's part of the climate control and driving mode. Oh my goodness. In terms of equipment, this car can be really impressive. You get your wireless telephone recharge right here, and you get two cup holders sitting right here. And this area had me thinking it's a storage space because of the split stitching over here. but it turns out this is not storage space, and there's no smart solution for this at all. So yeah, this is interesting because the way it's designed is almost as if it's removable or movable. Okay, and then underneath you get some additional storage space for your telephone or something. It's really nice. So for the rest, it's very similar to city-friendly electric cars or electric cars in general. So how this whole area floats, and then you have your charging ports down there, USB points, and even 12-volt socket. This is good. For the rest, it is really, really nice. It is presentable. But here's the thing: if you want to get something which you can brag about owning, or if you want something which you can be proud of owning or so, I'm not trying to say this is not a vehicle to be proud of, but it's just this, there's nothing really that's going to lift me at this point. You see, there's something about this interior that feels like it's missing some character. Now you also get this rotating screen, although compared to other BYD models, this screen is notably smaller, everyone. So yeah, it's selective again, but I'm very impressed with the fact that you get dual zone climate control, heated front seats. Now the mapping is average. It's very similar to what you've seen in other BYD cars. Now towards the rear seat, things get interesting. Already there's ease of entrance thanks to the design of the door. It's really good. So it is very ideal for that of a city vehicle, and you'll be surprised to see that the floor is flat. Perfectly flat almost, guys. So this is how good it is. And then earlier I was thinking that the center area had some problems, but as it turns out, there's space underneath that floating thing in the middle. So it's really good. So rear seat passengers can actually store some things there. This is how good it is. And the seat, let's take a proper seat, right? So one thing I have to say is that it's actually comfortable, and the headrest is almost comparable to that of a Maybach. Wow. Okay, this is, I'm telling you, for standards of a city car, electric, and that to less than 25,000 euros, there's something very unique about this BYD Dolphin Surf. Oh my goodness. The back seat is really nice, and the feet room can be limited, but otherwise it's rather good for the standards. And the knee room can be good, actually, again depending on the seat adjustment of the front seat passenger and driver. But otherwise the back of the seat is so squidgy, it's like a pillow almost. In many senses there's almost no compromise. There's no beacon of hope lighting, but at this point, do you really need lighting when you already have enough equipment here at the back seat? That there's nothing missing. I was expecting to complain about something, because I'm already not a fan of the exterior design, if I'm being honest. But then you sit inside, you feel some surprises. It doesn't look surprising, but it feels surprising. Just like what you'd expect on a Lamborghini, you get this huge spoiler right here. Now to open the back door of the BYD Dolphin Surf, you have to push from here. Now when it comes to the boot space, it's actually better than I thought. So it's not exactly spacious as in that of a Volkswagen Golf, for example, but it is still good enough, and you can even fold down the rear seat passenger seats by pulling the strap that's just above, and you just push this frontwards. This is how good it is. And then you get additional storage space just underneath the boot floor, and you even get tether points onto the side. Now, the biggest surprise for me is the fact that you even have tether points in this car. This is awesome. The electric motor of this BYD Dolphin Surf is at the front. It gives power to the front wheels of this BYD Dolphin Surf, and therefore it enhances the interior space greatly, which does explain why the back seats had the flat floor. It's a very pleasant surprise, and this also enhanced the practicality solutions between the front seat passenger and the driver's seat. You have the BYD Blade battery fitted directly in between the axles. When it comes to this segment of electric cars and answering the electric car question, there's one major advantage they have, everyone. The small size plus the lightweight should equate to efficiency in electricity consumption, if whatever I said made any sense, everyone. But you get the point. This is the major advantage you should have. So here's my conclusion of the BYD Dolphin Surf. Well, and now I want to talk to you all about this kind of model, this kind of design where you have the narrow track and the bodywork that's slightly taller when compared to that of certain conventional B-segment cars or A-segment cars like the Fiat 500 and the Volkswagen Polo, which is a B-segment vehicle. The point is, this segment, this kind of design, It was never something desirable, but it was still very popular nonetheless because they were very cheap to afford and at the same time cheap to tax, cheap to insure. In other words, very cheap and easy to live with, especially easy maneuverability around cities. But one thing I have to confess though, the designs. It was perhaps just unfortunate. It was always, for most cases, many car manufacturers do not have the best of design for this kind of segment. And I feel like BYD is another victim in this, because even Mercedes tried this kind of design with their first generation A-Class. And I mean, for me, it was a flop, but in terms of sales, they achieved massive success. It was a hot seller. Everyone bought it, but did everyone love it? You all be the judge, but I can already tell it was something that I would not exactly dream of being around. And then there were other competitors, like I know Suzuki had something like this. I think it was the Ignis, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not exactly sure, but I know the most popular example would be the Daewoo Matiz and the Chevrolet Matiz. That was a flop in my opinion, and everybody to this day does not exactly, even when looking at second-hand cars, someone would rather go for a Citroen C3 or a Fiat 500 over that thing. Although I'm surprised because I know somebody who is a fan of the Chevrolet Matiz. So it's a really selective taste, this segment. And this is where I come down to my conclusion of this BYD Dolphin Surf. My conclusion being, this is perhaps one of the best electric cars if you need something that's city friendly and at the same time versatile. Something that can get maximum tasks done. I was actually quite impressed with the practicality solution for the interior. It is very, very spacious. You'll be surprised by how spacious it is by the interior. And in my opinion, I think this is a bit of a monopoly for BYD at the moment because you don't really see other EV car manufacturers doing the same thing. None of them have been really successful when it came to budget EV vehicles. Stellantis is the closest I can think of, but even these guys have their own share of problems. Already the design is starting to have an identity problem, although their identity crisis isn't as severe as that of BYD, but at the same time, they just never were able to come up with a budget vehicle of less than 25,000 euros that is desirable. The only manufacturer that's managed to do that was Microlino, but Microlino, let's be honest, their vehicles aren't exactly spacious. These are the kind of vehicles you buy for the looks. Here are my recommendations to all of you. If you want a BYD Dolphin Surf, it is very easy to afford one in full option, the top of the range, because they aren't exactly expensive. And one thing I've noticed about the BYD brand is they have one model and they have multiple trim levels that are not very expensive compared to each other. They often have a difference of 5,000 euros or maximum 10,000 euros between each other, but there's no drastic change in price tag. It's very easy to get a top of the range model from BYD. This is what I really like about them. And that too, other models, if not, or at least majority of them, if not all, are electric. So therefore you already have an advantage. So when it comes to this BYD Dolphin Surf, I highly recommend you guys get the top of the range. If you really want a vehicle that's more spacious and more desirable, I'd go straight for the Atto 2. But if you really insist on something that's going to be used for the city 24/7 or very often, or because you live in the city, this BYD Dolphin Surf is ideal. And when it comes to family friendliness, I'd go straight for the Atto 2. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment in the comment section below sharing me your thoughts of this BYD Dolphin Surf. And don't forget to check the links in the description of my other YouTube videos where I review other BYD cars and of course competitors of this BYD Dolphin Surf.